Hi, I'm Matt. Welcome back to another in-home repair video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com. Stop. Before beginning any repair, always be sure to disconnect the power to the appliance. It is also recommended to test the outlet for proper voltage. Remember to also turn off the water. Hello, I'm Matt with ApplianceVideo.com. Today we're going to be looking at this Samsung dishwasher. The customer's complaint is that it fills up with water and the wash motor doesn't actually run. So what we've done is we've verified that we're getting power to the wash motor. Wash motor's not operating, so what we're going to do is replace the motor pump assembly on this unit. You will need the following tools before you begin this repair: a Phillips screwdriver, adjustable pliers or channel locks, a ratcheting wrench with an extension bar, and a flathead screwdriver. Alright, we're going to go ahead and open up the dishwasher. We're going to remove the upper rack. You just pull it out and lift up. And the bottom rack will just pull out. Now that we've got our racks removed, we've got access to the upper spray arm. There's just this little cap that's on here. It just basically has little locking tabs on it. You just twist it counterclockwise to unlock the tabs, and the spray arm will come down. Twist it off. So just counterclockwise and pull it away. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and remove this whole spray tower here. Just stick a little flathead screwdriver in. You got little locking tabs on the sides. You can almost do it by hand, but just release those. You got two more here at the top. Once those are all released, just grab it. Just turn it a little bit, about 30 degrees. There's little locking ears that are in there. Go ahead and pull that out. Okay, to get started, we're going to go ahead and lay the unit on its back. The first thing we're going to do is remove the bottom access panel. There's two Phillips screws that will need to be removed. Once those are removed, it's just tabs that are going to be holding this in place. You can go in with the flathead screwdriver. Once your panel's free, just going to rotate it down, and you're going to disconnect your harness for your leak detector and set that off to the side. Okay, to replace the entire motor pump assembly here, first thing we're going to do is we're just going to disconnect the harness for the turbidity sensor. Get that out of the way. Then we're going to disconnect the harness for the thermistor. Set that off to the side. We've got a ground wire here that we're going to remove. Just kind of pull that up and away. All right, now we're going to go ahead and remove the flow sensor tube. Just pull the band clamp off, pop the tube off, just kind of let it hang there. Okay, now we've got another ground wire here that goes to the element. Go ahead and remove that. And we've got our main harness for the motor. Just going to press the tab. Remove that. Okay, now your new sump assembly will come with a new drain pump, but we're just going to go ahead and remove the drain pump. It's going to make it a little bit easier to get the sump assembly out. Just go in with the flathead screwdriver. There's a little tab right here, and once you've released that, just twist this counterclockwise, pull the pump off, and use a pair of needle nose pliers and depress the tabs on the spade terminals. Set this off to the side. Now we've got the drain hose here that needs to be removed. Go ahead and back that clamp off. Pull your drain hose off. All right, now we've got 2 wires going to the capacitor that we're going to need to remove. And they also have release tabs on them, so you do have to kind of squeeze them to release. The new motor pump assembly will come with a new capacitor as well. All right, so now at this point, what we've got to do is remove these. There's 3 locking tabs that are around the base of the sump. First thing we have to do is take the Phillips screws out of them. These things are kind of tricky to remove. There's a tab that's located on the inside here by the frame that has to be depressed, and then the tab has to be pulled downward. So easy way to do it is if you got a little socket, a wrench, or something that you can put a bit into, a flathead bit. You can stick it up inside there to depress that locking tab. And then with your other hand, get on it with a pair of pliers. And release it. So if you see there, this is what we were doing, was basically sticking this right up inside there and pulling this locking tab while we were dropping the assembly away. All right, so we're going to do the same thing on the other locking tabs. Pop your tab out. And we got one more here. Okay, so to get on the last locking tab, it's very difficult because you don't have much room in here. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna peel the frame back just a little bit, or the base. We're gonna take out 4 Phillips screws. There's 2 on each side. And then we're just going to grab the frame and just kind of peel it back here. and that's going to give us a little bit more access to the locking tab that's in there. All right, so we've got our last tab that's set right down in here. We've got the frame peeled away, and the best way I found to get to it is just to come in with a flexible bit here. Remove your screw. Okay, now we're going to come in from the top here with a flat blade screwdriver, a small one, to press your tab. Come in from the underside with another screwdriver. Push up on it and pop it out. Okay, now really the only wires that we have left connected are just a couple of heater wires. Those are just really hard to get to because of the locking tabs on them. So what we're going to do is just give it a little tap. Okay, now at this point the whole assembly is free, and we're going to go ahead and sort of rotate it down a little bit counterclockwise so we can get some access to our 2 heating element wires. We're going to go in with a pair of needle nose pliers through the gap in the cabinet. And release those 2. Now the whole assembly is free. Just go ahead and push that right up inside into the tub. Okay, now with the pump dropped through the middle there, you've got access to your capacitor. The new pump assembly is going to come with the capacitor. So there's a screw on the back side here. It's kind of hard to get to because you have the beveled edge, the lip here, where your sump drops through. But we're just going to use a ratcheting wrench. Kind of a long extended Phillips bit on there. Once the screw is removed, you can go ahead and lift the capacitor out. All right, so we've got our new capacitor here. Before we go any further, since the pump is already removed, and that's the only way to really get this screw in and out, we're going to put our new capacitor in. And this is kind of the fun part here. Just trying to get this screw to start. Sometimes it's easier to actually put it through there and then try to set it in place. Kind of try to get it going by hand. Just basically a matter of feeling around in there. Get your ratchet with the extension on there. Go ahead and tighten it back down. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and tip the unit up, and we'll be working from the inside. Okay, before we set it up right, we're just going to pop the base kind of back into the frame. Just going to grab it at the bottom here, lift up, just to pull it into these tracks here. Just like that. Now we're going to set the unit upright. All right, so now at this point, we're just going to go ahead and pull the old motor pump assembly out. This gasket does not come with the new motor pump. Would be a good idea to just order this gasket if you are replacing the pump. However, it can be reused without leaks 98% of the time. So just go ahead and pull that off. I would just recommend cleaning it really well. And if you see any cracks or warping in it, then you'll definitely want to replace it. And you get a little bit of beveling on the edges here, but this will probably be fine to reuse. Okay, we've got our new sump assembly here. What we're going to do first here is just take the drain pump off. It just makes reinstallation a lot easier. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put our gasket on. Just going to go ahead and sort of feed it up around there. Set it all into place. Like I said, if you're going to be reusing the gasket, just make sure you clean it very well. Now we're ready to set the motor in place. So if you look at the motor, you do have a little arrow right here, and on the tub itself there's just a little gray notch, or a little like raised notch right in the center. You're going to align the arrow with the little notch, and that'll let you know that you're positioned properly. So just basically, if you are having a hard time getting this to set in place, you can take just a little bit of jet dry and put it around the seal. Don't overdo it, but you can just have a little bit on there. We're just going to press this in. Usually they aren't too bad. So just sort of drop your wires through, make sure you're not pinching anything. And just position it to where your arrow here in the front lines up with this notch. Okay, once that's done, press it firmly in place. A lot of times what's going to happen is when you set this up on its back, this is going to want to fall right out. So what you can do to kind of try to help keep it in place is you could put your upper wash tower back in, and that'll put a little bit of pressure right here. So that's what we're going to do right now before we set this back. So we've got our wash tower here. Drop it into place and then rotate it back to lock it. Go ahead and snap it in on your metal tabs. Okay, and that'll just kind of give it a little bit of pressure. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and tip the unit back. And as you're tipping it back, grab a hold of the motor. Keep some force on it to keep this whole assembly from wanting to slide up inside. And what you can do is just get one of your clips in. And that'll help hold it in place. Now you can get your bottom one in. Just basically putting them with the little tab side in, facing the actual inner lip here. They just push right in and snap into place. We'll get our last one here. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and peel the frame back. That'll give us access to the last clip here. ahead and snap that guy into place. And while you have the access, I'm gonna go ahead and use the extension with the flexible bit. Reach in there and get this screw started. Tighten that down. Okay, while we have this peeled back, we'll go ahead and we'll reconnect our heating element wires. Doesn't matter which wire goes where, you're just completing a circuit. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and pop our base back into place. Just grab it at the bottom and lift up on it. It'll go into the tracks there. And we'll go ahead and put our screws in. So you're gonna have to kind of push on the base a little bit to get your screw holes to line up. Let's get that one in. If you notice, these are kind of machine thread screws for the base. So we'll go ahead and get our other side here. All right, so now we got the screw that's going to go into the locking clip here at the bottom. And start it by hand. Just use a ratcheting wrench to tighten it up. All right, and we're gonna get the one in on the top here at like the 1 o'clock position. Okay. Now at this point, just basically a matter of reconnecting hoses and wire harnesses. So we'll go ahead and start by connecting this hose here to the tub, to the sump assembly. Pull your clamp down. And we'll get our drain pump. Go ahead and connect our two wires, the yellow and the orange. Doesn't matter which wire goes to which terminal. Set it into place. It's only really going to go on one way, and then it'll lock. Make sure it's locked out. And go ahead and we'll connect our capacitor wires, the red and the orange. These wires don't matter either. Go to either terminal. Okay, now that we've got those on there, we can go ahead and pull our motor connector up here. Hook that up. All right, so we'll go ahead and hook our drain line up here. Pull our clamp up. And you got your thermistor and turbidity sensor. So there's your harness for the turbidity sensor. Go ahead and connect that. And your thermistor harness. And now we've just got basically our two ground wires here. The one that's going to go to the heating element and the one that's going to go to the motor. So we'll go ahead and put our ground wire in on the heater. Ground wire for the motor. Make sure those are snug. Just do a quick check of all your electrical connections. Make sure they're all good. Now at this point, we are ready to go ahead and put the bottom access panel back on. Press it in place. Okay, now we're just going to go ahead and reinstall our two Phillips screws on the access panel. Now we can go ahead and flip the unit upright, finish installing our lower spray arm, hook up our electrical connections and water supply, and that will complete the repair. Thank you for watching another quality video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com.